Well, thank you for again joining us for the special edition of the AM show. I know that for many of you who wouldn't be watching us before now, you know that I'm looking different. It's because of Eid al-Adha celebrations. I have to say that happy Eid to all our Muslim brothers and sisters. I know somebody wants me to say Salih Combat, but he's not a Muslim. But good morning to you others in Salih Combat. Well, we've been joined by Evans Mensah, and then a sweet lady. Yeah. Marvia, how are you?
I'm good.
Great.
Gifty is also joining us. Good morning to you guys.
Good morning.
Great.
Good morning to Sally for Combat.
You will do well as a Deputy General Secretary, Gifty.
I know, right? She is a propagandist. Evans, unmute. Unmute for us. Okay, great.
I have, like, Roland, you look like an allergy.
I look what?
Like an allergy. You just came back from Mecca.
Yeah, you know, just trying to be in the mood because I have great friends. I'll start mentioning them from Ashaima, my hood, Charlie.
Don't make me say you want to solicit for something.
Oh, no. No shinkafa this morning. No worry, I'm good.
Okay, guys, let's just jump straight into the newspapers. We have just 3 of them, but we also do myjoyonline.com. We've got plenty of stories there. Gifty, let's start with your paper.
Okay, so I have Penny the Penny Daily Graphic newspaper. Banner headline there, EC detects multiple registration duplication exercise to expunge names. I hope my internet is stable at your end, but it comes with a picture of Jean Mensah, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. On top of that story, you have Supreme Court dismisses NDC's review on Ghana card passport. Story is on page 20. And don't invite hate speech communicators. Professor Kwame Kekari, the former executive director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, is saying that he's charging the media. The story is on page 13, and Muslims celebrate Eid today. That story is also on page 13. So that's what we have. A graphic newspaper. Quickly look at what we have on the back page. Man remanded for shooting 3 at funeral. Story is written by Emilia Emin Abi, and I'm wondering, I mean, in the 2,500 number funeral, people are slain. So House approved 48.3 million loan to finance bridges. Those are the stories I have on the graphic from Mavi Roland Evans.
Okay, Evans will do the Ghanaian Times. Evans?
Yes,
I have can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you all right, Gifty.
Okay.
I have the Ghanaian Times. Ghanaian Times on the front page. It says only SHS without COVID-19 cases can vacate GES and Ghana Health Service. They issued a statement yesterday. Also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, we have 22 million Ghanaians income affected by COVID-19. And of course, you have the story that Roland appears to be enjoying more than the Muslims themselves. Muslims celebrate Eid al-Adha today. We also have this is actually an interesting story, very important one. The Ghana AIDS Commission has finally restocked antiretroviral drugs and test kits. And then, of course, a story that we brought you on AM this morning, the VEEP has presented 100 buses to the senior high schools in 9 regions. And, of course, there's a final story there about International Youth Day, which has also been launched in Accra. Those are the stories on the Ghanaian Times front pages and the back page as well.
Okay, we'll get into the inside pages, but Roland will review the Daily Guide newspaper next.
Well, so the Daily Guide has on the front page, court rejects NDC review as Tsatsu runs away, has attached pictures of the Deputy Attorney General, Godfred Yeboadame, Tsatsu Chiketa, we all do know him, and then Justice Amenuvo also added there. On the side, Nana tries to escape Muntie 3 debacle. And then we have Supreme Court kicks out Oposua down there. There's a story about 12 million Ghana cedis spent on hot meals. And, well, the Deputy Minister for Finance had tried extensively to explain to Evans Mensah the other day, two days ago, I believe, about how we got to spend 54 million and what really the line items were leading to that final cost of 54 million. I guess the question we always ask. Government gives 100 buses to senior high schools. We brought you that story. On the back page, just imagine, a special prosecutor probes FIFA boss. And you know, he replaced somebody also who was under extensive investigations from the FBI and the Swiss authorities and led to his dethronement in a way. That's Sir Blatter. And he also coming in and now being also investigated under a special probe. Quite fascinating. I would want to work in FIFA. Did they miss this Premiership train? Yeah, they lost 3-1 to Brentford. And then we have other stories there. It's about Ronaldo splashing just £5.5 million on new yacht. I'm saying just because this is a drop in the ocean if you compare how much he's a billionaire now. So that's great. All right.
Okay, let's do myjoyonline.com and then we'll come back and then take our picks. I've been looking at this 22 million Ghanaians income affected by COVID-19. The Ghana Statistical Service talking to people and making their research known, details of that. We know they've also been making some comments based on their findings on vaccinations, for instance. So we'll come back and deal with this matter. But let's check out what's on myjoyonline.com before we get into the stories proper. So if you go to our page, myjoyonline.com, this is our top story. My petition for release of Montier 3 was appeal for mercy, not endorsement. That's according to Nana Opoku Ajimai, as she spoke to a radio station in the Central Region yesterday. Supreme Court dismisses voters' register case after Tsatsu Chikata refused to present NDC's arguments. Can I say Akufo-Addo government has performed better than Nkrumah's? Opoku Prempeh jabs free SHS doubters. Domalovo's leave directive may have negative impact on audit services independence. That's in Totsai Development Initiative. That's attributed to that initiative. Baumia wishes Muslims a happy Eid al-Adha celebration. Pool breaks on plans to implement customs amendment bill, minority to government. Domalovo has personalized Auditor General's office. That's according to Yao Boabinga Samo of the MPP. GS outlines exit protocol for senior high school Form 2 student to vacate on Friday. Pray for Ghana as we combat COVID-19. Rollins to Muslims on Eid al-Adha. That was a joint statement from the former presidents and the former first lady. All right, guys, let's begin with you. What stories do you want to highlight on?
I think Evans should start since I'm a regular.
He's a visitor.
Let's allow the newcomers to talk.
Yeah. Look our guest, Evans Mensah, go ahead.
Look at me trying to, implement the ladies first agenda. And I would definitely take the opportunity to start with the Ghanaian Times. Let's talk about our children because it's so important. The senior high schools that won't go home. I mean, vacation is on, but they can't get to go home because of COVID-19. A story essentially in a statement that was issued jointly yesterday by the Ghana Education Service and the Ghana Health Service is that the schools, particularly on the Gold Track, they are on vacation. However, for schools where they have recorded positive cases of COVID-19, they can't go home. They have to stay behind, and there will be further assessments done and tests done. And until the health workers and officials declare that the school can be allowed to vacate, they'll have to stay in school for quite a while. Yesterday, for example, I was speaking to the PRO of the Ghana Education Service. I was asking him whether they know as of now how long that process is going to take. Of course, they don't know, because it's all pretty up in the air until the health officials, based on testing, could determine how many pupils in a school are affected, the treatment they're going to be on, isolating them for, 14 days, and making sure that they've all recovered. They have to be done several additional tests. You can make a decision about timelines. These is very, very challenging time. I'm just putting myself in the shoes of a parent whose ward is in one of these schools. It's just going to be one of those challenging parents for parents, but also most importantly for the children.
And Evans, to think that these are children who had to write exams. Look, nobody likes examinations. You see the opposition that the teachers put up when they had to write their licensure exams. Nobody likes examinations. So these are young people whose brains are still developing. They've gone through this traumatizing experience of, first of all, the COVID, the uncertainties. Then now they have to come back to school, congregate when people are actually being told to isolate. They've dealt with that. Now they've dealt with writing on exams, and now they have to stay when everybody else is at home. I think it's very traumatizing. I hope that we've learned lessons that can better their experiences next time. But I also hope that through this process, it toughens them up and gives them the fortitude they need to, face the problems that life presents. Talking about children, the statistical service reports, Mama Vida, you referred to yesterday, I engaged them on the post. They said that in their research, they realized that about 35% of Ghanaian children are also not learning at all. So you see that people are at home and we're doing this radio and TV learning, etc. Joy Learning, for example, is one of the sterling examples available. But the Ghana Statistical Service is reporting that they found that 35% of children, they don't have internet access, they don't have TV, they are not learning, like they are not doing anything at all. So that's something that I think we should pay attention a lot to. The Statistical Services survey. It revealed a lot that requires national attention.
Absolutely. Still related to the Statistical Service with this report, they've said, for instance, that the most common remedy people opted for under the effects of the COVID-19 was to reduce food consumption, reduce non-food consumption, and also rely on savings. And they disclosed that some people don't have jobs. I mean, we've been talking about it. Now we've got data to back it because of the work of the Statistical Service. So yes, indeed, incomes have been affected by COVID-19. It's not such a good news for many people.
I think this is quite important. And if you go through that report, it also, in a very latent way, just exposes how weak our health system is. And then the lack of knowledge we as a population generally seem to have of one not knowing that we don't have the access, and then not being preemptive enough to get the needed attention for healthcare when we have to. And so we tend to report very late when we are not feeling well to the health facilities. We're lucky.
That's our weak health systems. Sorry, I mean, I hope I'm not interrupting, but as for our weak health systems, we didn't need an angel or the priestess who helped to kill Ekwadente to know. As for the systems, we know they are weak, fundamentally weak.
Well, we've always known that the health system is not good, but it further exposes how precarious the situation is, because on one hand, we have health systems that are supposed to be better in urban areas. So like you take Accra and Kumasi, supposedly. But COVID has exposed that vulnerability that is a countrywide issue. So you can imagine, and I'm very close to many health people, just like all of you, you can imagine that during the center and the crisis point, key health personnel in Ghana's capital, Accra, didn't have access to PPEs on a continuous basis. It's not as if that we were not looking out for any pandemic, or the world was not looking out for a pandemic. So shortage was supposed to be a guarantee. But it means that we didn't have even enough in stock, because we need to have enough at least to take us for a week or two. And knowing that you have somebody who lives with you and goes to the treatment or the clinical ward and is exposed, that's a difficult thing, I think.
It is. I mean, the very final one on this, back to the story about the COVID-19 in the schools, there's a fundamental question that also needs to be asked. So for those schools that are being asked to go home and vacate, I mean, what's the basis for making the decision that everybody in the school is negative and therefore can go when we aren't doing testing? So yesterday when I asked the PR of the Education Ministry, so what is it, how are they making the decision that a school is clear to vacate when he admits that there isn't testing in the schools? They are not doing mass testing. That in itself is a challenge, because schools can be clear to go home. If you haven't tested the children, you won't know that, you know, some of them do have and may be taking the virus back home. It's only those schools where people have shown symptoms, then have been tested, then they get to know. And of course, we all know there are plenty asymptomatic, people who still carry the virus around and who can still spread it. So that is one of the key areas that I get to see going forward. I don't know whether policy must change as far as that is concerned. And we had parents say, we need our children tested, and government needs to consider changing policy on that.
Yeah, I listened to that conversation, Evans, yesterday, and from the Ministry of Education, it's not part of their strategy. I heard the PRO say that many times to you yesterday. General testing wasn't part of their strategy. So I guess a change in policy. And
I don't know why that's not possible. We got quite an amount of money in the COVID Trust Fund. Yeah, and just this week, I read that Newmont Ghana is committing about 3 million. I've forgotten if it's dollars or cedis to Noguchi to help with the testing process. I mean, at least for these children, we should be able to be testing them. I don't know what the difficulty is, really. But otherwise, we're just going to keep spreading and spreading. And yeah.
Gifty, what would be your own pick?
Anyway.
Gifty lives in the eastern region, I think.
Well, my
the internet is always bad.
Stop talking about the eastern region. We've got great internet.
So I've talked a bit about that, but I found it interesting, the distribution. No, I don't know. I don't know why. I guess it's because I stayed on too long. But I found it interesting, the distribution of buses, and most interesting, the comments by the Education Minister, likening the governance of President Kwame Nkrumah.
I knew Gifty would do this.
I don't know. We have. I felt like it was unnecessary. That's not what I want to hear as a Ghanaian taxpayer. Sorry. I'm just saying that as a Ghanaian taxpayer in COVID-19, you comparing your governance to the first president of the country in the way he did it. I mean, to essentially score political points. It's not understand. It's a political season, and so I can understand. But I think that the comment was really unnecessary. We should look at how we ease the emotional stress that we're causing to these children. For me, unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, I must say though, I mean, I agree with Gifty that we could definitely have done without the comments comparing what this government had done to what Nkrumah had definitely done. It's actually a distraction from what, in fact, is a very good initiative, which is the distribution of buses to these schools. And so, of course, in telling the story, and I don't know why politicians continue to do this, in telling the story, you would actually see, and if you look at my Joy Online, the headline, it's about the comparison with Nkrumah. Not the headline isn't about the fact that government has invested in procuring 100 buses for the schools, which is really what the focus should be on. And government's would love the focus to be on that. But because he introduced that element into the conversation and it's controversial, that is going to be what journalists, and rightly so, would focus on. I get his point, though, that people had criticized the free SHS in the past, but it's also about what you want the people to pay attention to. Do you want them to talk more about a certain controversy and competition between the living and the dead, which is really what he did? I mean, this government is obviously still living, and Nkrumah is dead and gone, and we respect what he's done for us. But to bring him up, knowing how people are passionate about what he stood for, then distracts from what the government had planned to do and had done, which is sending buses to the schools.
Yeah, I know. When I heard the comment yesterday, and I know even on the platform that we have for the reporters and the editors, etc., there was an argument, a bit of stalking as to really, was that what he said? Because we don't want to say that it is incomparable, but the reality is the objectives post-independence for any government in Africa and what Nkrumah did will always be different. And then looking at how time has elapsed, several decades, with countries that we started independence with, who have developed and leapfrogged us, even the Emiratis, for example. So it opens just a kind of worms about debate, whether we could have done better, whether what we've done in the short term is what we should do, etc. Yeah, I don't know why the education minister decided to do this. It's almost like trying to pitch maybe one generation against the other.
But it was a question. Was it an emphatic statement?
It was a rhetoric. It was a rhetoric, but it was a rhetoric that was not needed. I think.
It was certainly.
Well, okay. We just have time for.
Like I'm saying, I looked at my salary and I looked at just how much I had to pay in. I recently. Okay, sorry. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can.
But I was saying that I looked at my salary recently and I looked at how much I pay in taxes. And I'm saying that as a taxpayer, that's not what I want to hear at this time. Evans, I wanted to quickly say this, that Jainana Opoku-Agyeman seems to have started her campaigns in the central region. Interesting, isn't it?
Well, I remember when I did the analysis the last time on Monday, one of the things I said was that if she wanted to become more relevant to the party, and of course to the JM ticket, she will have to start in her home constituency of Komenda, because she's done quietly some work there since she was appointed education minister in 2013, building for them some facilities and commissioning projects by herself on the quiet, which is definitely the strategy. And it was in our strategy note as part of the analysis we did that she should go there and use that as a trump card to sell herself and to gain acceptance, which is what she's done. I mean, the first place she went to after she was outdoored was to go to Komenda. It is a good strategy. Is to go home, start from home, and build from there. And she's campaigning. And Central Region is a swing region. If you win Central Region, you win the elections. Komenda is not so much of a swing constituency. It has a checkered history. It's been held once at the presidential level by the NPP. At the parliamentary level, it's been held by the CPP. But other than that, it's always been held by the NDC other than 2012. And so it's a good strategy for her to pursue. What she's been saying, though, about the Munte 3 petition, I'm not sure would excuse the critics from coming after her, because her argument essentially is that, well, I mean, and she said it so if somebody has been convicted, a person ranks to you and asks for an apology, will you not, take the person in and, in essence, pardon the person? I've had people draw the parallels and say, is she saying that if somebody had committed murder and had been convicted, that person is going to be, put in prison? or capital punishment imposed on the person. The person wrongs to you, you would embrace the person and pardon the person because that is what we do as a society. So it is a pretty thin line she was walking in trying to explain why she signed on to that petition.
Well, I thought she did a fantastic job because that's a heavy topic. I didn't think she would even dare to go there, particularly at this time. I thought she carried herself
she
well.
Really had no choice.
Yeah,
she had no choice. She had to take it on some way, somehow. It is the explanation she offered. I think her strongest explanation, was the fact that pardons are a constitutional. It's a constitutional provision, and it is not illegal to pardon.
Guys,
and that the Munche 3 were actually made to serve part of their sentence.
Exactly.
And before the petition, and I thought she should have stayed there because that is illegal. It's in the Constitution. But once you go into bringing local anecdotes about if the person wrongs you and asks for forgiveness, then you open yourself up for criticism.
Okay, well said. We've got just about 2 minutes. We've got a relationship conversation. It's a holiday Friday, and here's our topic for discussion: surviving polygamy in a 21st century economy. That's what we're discussing today, and I definitely want to hear from you, Gifty and Evans, your take on this.
Yeah.
Gifty, this time you have to go.
Please, leave me out.
Excuse me, Gifty. Do we ever leave you out of any conversation?
Say that now.
No, but I if I must say, if you can hear me, Mavi.
Excuse me?
Since Gifty said, can you hear me, Mavi?
Yes, Evans, I can hear you.
If Gifty says she wants to be left out, let me say that polygamy is a good thing. First of all, it's a good thing. If it's a good thing, if the question about 21st century, you're probably going to ask me why it's a good thing. It's a good thing because even in the Bible, we see plenty of the folks that we celebrate. Solomon has a whole chapter in the Bible. He is the grandfather of polygamy. And so don't tell me it's not a good thing. It's actually a good thing. In the 21st century, it is only a factor of how much money you have. But even if you don't have money and all the other wives and women you have can work by themselves, and women do work by themselves and bring money to the table, then a man necessarily who is polygamous must not necessarily have the money. The woman can bring in money, and actually that could be a good thing, because if you have 4 women who are all doing the hard work and all bringing money home, you, the guy, get sorted.
Evans, we should pull you into the conversation. You're making some great point. You sound like you're coming from a place of experience. We'd love to hear your thoughts later on.
The conversation, is it among us? Because
we have some friends who will be joining us via Zoom.
I wanted to say, I think polygamy is great.
No, but you want to really take my thoughts.
I thought you
said you didn't want, because of Christ, you don't want to say anything. So I wanted to continue. I think polygamy, having more than...
Roland, hold your thoughts.
Having more than...
Get to go ahead. Roland, you talk.
So the thing is...
Getty, I shut him up. Go ahead.
So we're talking about, if you say polygamy is good, you're talking about somebody with multiple legitimate partners. And I'm saying that if, Evans, you're talking about what happened in the 100 wives and 300 concubines, but the point of what happened in the Old Testament to the New Testament, when the New Testament dispense at the both. That's why when Ananias and Sapphira...
No, we're not going to theology school this morning.
Unfortunately, the network is not helping. Listen,
Ananias and Sapphira,
we should bring you two back, okay? But we have to wrap up on this note. Network is not...
we'll bring them back on this conversation.
Gifty, the network is not helping, unfortunately. Yeah. So we'll leave it here. We'll come back with this conversation. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Evans. Thanks, Gifty.
Thanks, Evans and Gifty.
And that's it for the review. We've got plenty of stories on my JoyNews.
Evans, get ready. Gifty, get ready. We'll
give you holiday spots, and then we'll come back and do our Relationship Friday. We have some interesting friends who'll be joining us via Zoom on this conversation. You don't want to miss it.